Well, hey there, and welcome back to Highlandshire. I think the last video you guys saw of the bus was me trimming some spray foam. I've been chugging along since then. I haven't really had a chance to video. I've just kind of been in the zone. So let me give you an update on where we're at now. So I think since the last video, new things are possibly these outlets are finished. That's new. So those ones are in. These ones are in. Those were in before, but we finished up this side. The pantry wall has been installed, so I don't think you saw that. You saw me make it, but it's now in place. And I put up some beadboard style paneling behind there. You know, I'm kind of torn. I kind of like the chrome screws, but I might paint them white. We're definitely going to do a bead of white caulking right here. And then, of course, this is kind of giving you an optical illusion, but the window goes here, and that's aluminum, so I think it'll be a nice look. We obviously have to put some corner trim in there. These are going to be painted, and we'll have to build up our shelving. I might put a little box around this. I haven't decided yet. And then, of course, we'll have to cut a small piece of tin for that curve, and then we're going to do more beadboard on top, but probably a wider plank than that. I'm thinking they make a 4-inch version. I think that would look really nice up there. Other new things as we continue our tour is first stages of plumbing have gone in. So for some reason I cut 2 holes. The only hole that it needs to be there is the supply, because my water tank's going to be in the bay below, which you can see the door here. So we have a fairly large bay, fairly wide bay I should say. It's about 6 feet wide. It's not deep, it's quite wide though, so we can fit a pretty large freshwater tank in there. The bay is going to be insulated and heated. How it's going to be heated yet, I haven't really decided. I'm thinking possibly a 3rd diesel heater, or maybe just some sort of small ceramic heater, electric. I don't need it to be hot, I just need it to be above freezing, right? So we're not going to be too worried about that. The tank itself will have an electric heater, so if we're ever plugged in on grid, that'll be direct, not going to be running through the inverter, but which is common in RV style tanks. They have a electric pad on the bottom. The hot is returning from the water heater to go to our kitchen sink here. Like I said, they're going to be surface mount in here. So in the bathroom, we have another piece of paneling up. But don't worry about these screws. They're pretty much hidden behind plumbing and the sink. It was just one of the few ribs that I had, so I wanted to make sure that we were getting a good, strong connection. Because this stuff is pretty floppy, but I mean, it's in there tight. And obviously, again, corner pieces, whether that's quarter round, I'm not sure, some sort of piece of trim. Will I box these in the future? Most likely. Will they be boxed in by the time we're living in it? Probably not. But I will build removable boxes just like this to cover those up. So as we go back, I had to cut an access hole to make sure that I could create these 90 degrees in here. I didn't feel like forcing the pecs around this curve, which could be done, but I also wanted to make sure that I had some ability to do some strapping there and keep everything sort of tidy. So I cut that access hole. It's fine. I'll block it back off and it'll be covered by flooring. PEX comes across. That's just a little height spacer right there. We had to hack out some metal on both sides, but we made those access holes nice and big. This whole thing was totally full of mouse house, like 100% full. So that was a process. Completely filled that shop vac of mouse house. So at least, as we have humidity and stuff, now that that mouse house is gone, it's one more thing we won't have to worry about. Glad that we cut into that for the plumbing. Again, plumbing comes across. Blue is supply, which goes into the wall. And then we have a T. The T, we're going to come off this way and then back out of the wall towards us so we can come up into our water heater, and that'll be our supply. The top of the T is going to go straight up into our cold water supply for the shower. Now the hot return I did not put in the wall because, again, this is coming out of the hot water heater. So we're going to have hot water heater here, and we'll have a hot water supply going into the wall. So it actually looked quite nice. We'll have cold water coming out and supplying the hot water heater, and then we'll have hot water coming out, going both into the wall and teeing backwards into this, which supplies the rest of the hot water for the 2 sinks. And that's about it for the plumbing. It really wasn't that complex. It just took me a while to think it through. One of the major decisions that we had to swallow was raising this floor. It just seemed to make the most sense to me. I didn't want to run the plumbing up and over, which we discussed before I did my spray foaming. I felt like it was too permanent and it probably had a freeze hazard. So I feel better about it down there. This piece of 2x, I think I will cut some circular vents in, again, just to keep warm air flowing through the plumbing. But I'm not really worried about freeze up with it inside the bus like this. We actually got pretty lucky here. This is a full-size 2x, and we're able to have exactly the clearance we need right there for 5/8 plywood. So I'm in the process now of cutting this piece. As you can see, the floor is a ramp. It angles up. So I need to come 5/8 down from the top, take my measurements, and I need to rip these 2x's down so the plywood lays straight. But I do have one piece semi-cut. I'm about to rip that second piece, but I have my first piece of plywood cut. I'll lay that down so you guys can see it. Okay, so that's not flush right now, obviously, because the second 2x is too tall, so it's kind of wiggling around, but we were able to kind of cut our curve in. Not that most of that's going to be exposed. It probably really won't be, because we do have a piece of wall coming down right here, so that'll be covering all this mess. And then we do have a small piece of wall coming down right here. I'm going to build in this shower just a bit. So we're going to come in with another 2x this way. And what I've decided is that step is going to completely disappear, and basically a secondary wall is going to come up just below our shower diverter, our nozzles and stuff, and that'll be just a small shelf for soaps and whatever. It solves the problem of that being there, and we still gain that extra 3 inches up high, so the shower feels really, really big. But we don't actually need this space, so I think that'll solve a pretty weird issue there with that shelf. Oh, and one last thing that we updated. So while I was waiting for some things to dry and whatever, I completely stripped this rear shelf. So it used to have some wood paneling, which held the insulation out. I got all that off of there. I got all the old insulation, and I got all the old tar paper off. So this is no longer full of moldy grossness like it was. All that black you see on there is glue. It's tar glue, so it's not mold. We're good to go. It's going to be cleaned up a little bit before I move on to the next step. But the next step is quite simple. We're going to use purple hard foam on this whole unit. So this way, and down the bottom keeps the heat and noise out of here from the engine bay. For those of you that don't know much about these buses, these hatches are pretty important. So a lot of people build these in, which is not a good idea. If you need to do exhaust work on your bus, you're almost always going to have to do it from the interior. This hatch is here for a reason. So I'll show you what's in there. Pop that open. I'll have to turn a light on. But that's your engine. That's your exhaust manifold. So you can see, big honking 6-cylinder, cast iron manifold. There's our muffler, which is actually in pretty good shape. A little bit of a heat shield right here. You look back that way, you can see the transmission. Look over this way, you see your fan and your radiator. So, top of the engine, you can't really see on the other side of the firewall, but it's up there. This is one of our heater bypass pipes that we're no longer using, so I'm gonna use this access to loop that. So yeah, these access ports are important. You really can't cover them up. After the hard foam's on, this whole area needs to get built out to support the bed. That will be its own video, building the bed and the furniture in this room. I think it'll be pretty interesting to watch. I don't know about you guys, but I like watching carpentry, so I'm not going to film the rest of this floor. I'm just going to get it put in. I have a bit of a deadline here, and filming slows me down, but I hope that's a nice update for where we're at now. like I said, I'm filming a little bit less. I'm gonna show more progress in every video instead of more detailed work on the process of creating a single project. And I hope you like that. But the reality is twofold. One, I don't think a lot of people are watching it. And two, I'm out of time. I need to work fast on this. So filming does slow me down. And we're gonna keep hauling butt here. So yeah, I think that's the update. And the last thing I want to update you guys on is glass. We have taken apart the 3 broken windows, and I need to get those to Frank. So I think ending this video, I haven't shown the footage yet of Frank cutting all of these pieces. I did do a little bit of filming, so I'll probably speed that up, throw it on time lapse, and it'll be a good outro for this video. You guys can see him in action. Truly a master of his work, so it's really nice to find somebody like that local who knows what they're doing. So Frank's gonna get a new piece of glass dropped off. I'll finish up this video. And again, like always, thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye. All right, guys, we're headed over to see Frank at Tri-City Glass. He's cutting up all the flat glass for the bus. He said I could come by and film a sheet so we can see what it's all about. Stay tuned.